My name is Wayne Tom. I'm with the state of Hawaii, the Department of Business. I manage the Enterprise Zone program and the Community-Based Economic Development program. We're here to testify in favor of the resolution to renominate the Enterprise Zones for the County of Hawaii. And we think that this resolution is needed because the 20-year expiration date, which is mandated in the statute 209E, the 20-year expiration has expired. And what we want to do is help develop businesses in these areas for the Big Island. And this Enterprise Zone program, at no cost to the businesses, is one way to do that, to lower the cost of doing business in Hawaii. And I think we've helped maybe more than 100 agricultural manufacturing companies, wholesalers on the island. There are about 100 active businesses right now on the island. In the years that the program has been in effect, I think the Big Island has included maybe more than 200 or 300 businesses. So I think it's a good resolution. We have to do it to help the businesses here. I think it's needed to create the jobs here.
Mr. Chair, our next testifier is Mr. Mark Ritchie, testifying in support of Resolution 105 from the State Department of Business Development of Tourism.
And I'd just like to second what Wayne Tom has said, and also just to let you know we'd be happy to answer more questions about how the Enterprise Zone program works. It's a state-county partnership. It's up to the counties to decide where they want enterprise zones. But there are a lot of other sort of restrictions. It doesn't override zoning laws or anything like that. And also it's limited to certain types of business activities, which include agriculture, but not retail and a lot of other things that I think some people mentioned. So happy to answer any questions later.
Hey, Hilo, is that your last testifier?
That's our last testifier.
Okay. At the other sites, Kona, Waimea, Kohala, Pohoa, Kau, is there any others that want to testify? Hearing or seeing none. Okay, I'm going to move on. Council members, just to let you know that Wayne Tom and Mark Ritchie, they will be doing like a short presentation to the council explaining this program. Okay, so we can ask questions afterwards when they come up. Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Clark, Communication 182.
Communication 182 requests an update on audio communication improvements in Hilo and West Hawaii Council chambers from Councilmember Dennis Fresh Onishi, dated February 27, 2015.
May I have a motion to close and file Communication 182?
So moved.
So, motion by Mr. Paleka, second by Mr. Iligan. And at this time, I'm going to turn the chair over to Ms. Willie.
Let the record show that I've assumed the chairmanship as the vice chair of the Intergovernmental Relations and Economic Development Committee. So opening this up to Councilmember Onishi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I just wanted to get one update. When I first got in, that's when, I think about a year later, we got to go to Hilo's new council chambers after the renovations. And at that time, the audio was kind of like not working good. And so till today, we still have problems. So I wanted to get an update from Corp Council if they can come up, and then also Public Works, because now we have the West Hawaii Civic Center too, and then for some reason they're not working hand in hand. supposedly. So I just wanted to get an update on what's going on and how much more longer it's going to take, because when we were in, like, I think my second term, they told us that, I guess, county needed to accept the job from the Hilo renovations, and then the warranty would kick in to help fix the audio. So I just wanted to let everybody know what's going on, because even for the public, I think they must be kind of like frustrated sometimes with the audio problems that we incur, right? And so, do we have Public Works in Hilo?
Ms. Chair Onishi, we have Mr. Brandon Gonzalez and Mr. Stuart Maera at the table.
Okay, thank you, Brandon. And then also in Kona, from Corp Counsel, we have.
Good morning, Molly Stebbins, Corporation Counsel.
Okay, so either Public Works or Corp Counsel, you folks can, I guess, start where you folks can give us an update on what's going on. So, who would like to go first?
Good morning, Chair Onishi. This is Brandon Gonzalez, Deputy Director, Public Works. I can take it.
Okay, thank
if
you.
Molly doesn't mind. Good morning, members of the committee. I'll give a brief update on the audio-visual system. And by way of background, you have to keep in mind that the Hawaii County Building and the West Hawaii Civic Center are two separate buildings and were two separate projects. In regards to the Hawaii County Building, Council Chambers, that project was completed as part of the overall building renovation in 2011, and that warranty period has expired. As such, the maintenance and the performance issues for the system are typically handled by the end user, and in this case, that would be a partnership between the clerk's office working with the Department of Information Technology, because there is quite a bit of technology involved. With regard to the West Hawaii Civic Center Council Chambers, the audio-visual system was installed as part of the West Hawaii Civic Center construction, and it's currently under a maintenance phase. The AV system is a component in ongoing litigation between the county and the general contractor, and because litigation is pending, we have been advised not to publicly comment on specific details or status of that case. This is the thing to keep in mind, that until December 2014, the AV system that was part of the West Hawaii Civic Center built in has not been fully utilized. What was being utilized was a traveling AV system by the previous AV vendor, and I know that the current clerk is making plans to integrate the in-house West Hawaii Civic Center audiovisual system into the meetings. And so they should be given a time to execute their integration plan to get the systems working together. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, Brandon, you mentioned that the Hilo, I guess, video audio, the warranty is expired?
Correct.
So,
because that project was done in 2011.
And so there was nothing that was done during that time of the warranty to get it fixed?
The system, as far as I know, was operating as intended.
Okay, so the problem that we're having, is it because there's two different, like, I guess, audio systems that we're using, so it's not compatible?
Actually, the problem that we are experiencing could probably be attributed to the advancement in technology. The microphone technology that has been installed is very sensitive, and especially sensitive to ambient noise. So rather, it picks up, in addition to the person talking directly into it, it'll pick up all the ambient noise around, and that's how sensitive it is. And if it picks up the ambient noise, that noise is transmitted through the system and can become an echo. And that's typically something that is experienced if you've been to a baby luau and a microphone gets too close to a speaker. and you get feedback, or if you are on a teleconference with another microphone system and you start hearing an echo or a loop or some distortion. And so that is a factor here that we have some practical things to do and address that, like making sure if your microphone is not in use and you're not the speaker, then all the other microphones are turned off to try and control the collection of ambient noise. There's other technology things that people do because we are running it through an internet connection to check and reset the internet connection. But I think it starts with trying to control the amount of noise that is actually being picked up and put through the system at first.
So I know that, okay, this administration was never basically involved, I guess, in having all these equipment and this audio video, I guess, ordered. But wouldn't you think that you would try to make sure that when you, I guess, go out to bid or when you spec this thing out, that it would be like we wouldn't have any problems, and in the future use of having this East Hawaii, West Hawaii connection, and then also possibilities of having like different sites that this system would be compatible to to all the whole island.
Yeah, I'm not talking too much about compatibility at this point. I think what the focus is with the integration of the in-house audiovisual system at West Hawaii Civic Center, there's going to be a period where there's going to be adjustments that need to be made to the sensitivity of the equipment, to the sound balance, also to meet the preferences of the current users. And so that type of break-in period is typical, especially when you are integrating systems. So it may not be too much a factor of whether they're compatible, but it's just a matter of getting the systems online and running fully and then matching them up.
Okay, so we have basically the problem is not Hilo's system, but it's West Hawaii's system. Is that correct?
It seems to be, based on what we have observed, is that the West Hawaii Civic Center microphones are especially sensitive to sound, and so they are transmitting all the ambient sound as distortion or echo.
So is it possible to change the microphones?
If that is necessary after other less intrusive options, it could be considered.
Because, okay,
but
so right
again,
now,
for details of the integration plan, I think the clerk has the plan on how they want to go and start utilizing the in-house equipment at the West Hawaii Civic Center. So I'm not too sure what their plans are to go and address it that way.
Yeah, well, maybe the clerk can answer this because, but even he wasn't there for a long period of time. But like I said, it's been going on for a while, and then so I guess for me, I couldn't speak for the other members, but like a timeline, when should this be fixed?
You have your. Good morning, Chair Onishi and members of the committee, Stuart Maeda, County Clerk. Just to kind of go back on some of the things that Brandon had been talking about, the problem is originating, the audio problem is originating from Kona. And one of the issues is that the system had not been utilized up until January of this year, when the current AV technicians went in and started to try to get the system to work. Previously, the previous contractor out of the sea had been using a traveling system of mics and of cameras. So the current AV technician has gotten West Hawaii to pretty much work, all the cameras work, the projectors work, and we're using more of the in-house system. The last part is the audio. We're still using the traveling mics, and the traveling mics do pick up a lot of ambient sound like Brandon had been talking about. And we're kind of working to try and figure out how to best address that. The AV technician is working towards having the in-house audio system working fully. And one of the reasons why we put off having meetings in West Hawaii, originating from West Hawaii, was because of trying to get the whole system to work. And this system has not been used until just January. So it is going to take a while or a few more months probably to get everything going. But the next thing we do want to look at is the audio system. And it is a problem with the ambient sound and the looping through the various different sites that we have and creating the echo. The easy solution right now is to turn off your mics when you're not speaking. The AV technician has adjusted the system in Kona to block out some of that ambient sound. But then that does require people speaking to speak more directly into their microphones in Kona, because it's not picking up as much of that ambient sound anymore. We're hoping that we can have all of this done within the next month to 2 months, and have either the audio system, the built-in audio system in the West Hawaii Civic Center working, or looking at other solutions, which may be getting new mics, or having our staff actually sitting at the audio board to adjust volumes to try to control that ambient noise, and other possible solutions. But right now, we're still in that stage of trying to figure out how to best get the in-house system to work. And after the warranty is in place, if there's actual problems with the audio system that was put in, then maybe that needs to be addressed at that point.
Okay, so all I want to find out, so what is the timeline? How long more do we need to deal with this problem? Like a year, 6 months, 2 years?
Like I had said, I'm thinking probably within 2 months we'll have the issue. We'll know what the problem is, and do the in-house mics work, and then what are the options? The options would be probably, if the in-house mics don't work, then to figure out where the negotiations are. And if we need to, we can look at purchasing new mics that maybe would address the issue better. But like I just had mentioned, the easy solutions right now are just turning off your mics when you're not speaking.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Brandon, I don't know if you know, but like in Hilo before, the screens that we have at each council member's section or their seat, before the chair's seat, you could have where on the monitor, you could see who wants to speak next. Like people would press their button, and on the screen, you could see who put their buttons first. Now, that screen, to my understanding, it doesn't work anymore. Can you explain about that? Because I remember when we first started, that's how we used to run our meetings, looking at that screen and knowing who would be speaking next, because you would look at your screen, they would, I guess, press their button, their speaker, and then that would light up. And so you would know, okay, like so-and-so next and so forth. So you don't have to go be looking around, who in that. Do you have any explanation on that part?
Well, I think what you're describing was the overall management of the speaker management with the microphones, where, if I recall, it would actually show people that were in a queue to speak as well. And I thought the control console was actually before the clerk or whoever was operating the technical machinery in the Hilo chambers, right on the seat closest to the main entry. Is that what you're just talking about, Mr. Chair?
No, I guess, like where the chair sits right now in that center, I guess that screen that was there when any members wanted to speak, like I guess when they would turn on their mic, it would trigger something on that screen to show that so-and-so, wants to speak. And it would be on that screen. So it would have like the 9 I guess, positions of the council members, and it would just light up in that position where they sit.
Okay. So the monitors in general in front of the council members in the chambers were to assist with displaying images and for presentations. And what you're describing, if it's the PA system control, I don't know when that function was with the chair or not, but I do recall that there was some control on the microphone sensitivity, and there might have been a speaker queue with a timer on the control panel where the clerk typically sits. So I'm sorry, I'm not too familiar with what you're describing.
Well, it's just that, it was really good for whoever was running the meeting, because then you could see people wanting to speak, and then so you could put them in order. But like you're saying, so the warranty is, we no longer have the warranty, so those things are not be able to be fixed then, or we're gonna have to spend money. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct. They're not covered under any warranty coverage anymore.
Okay, I'll yield right now and have other members ask questions.
I just want to say that I agree that the problem is still continuing to exist, and that it's more than just making sure that there's not ambient sound right around the speakers. So I think that it's important to continue to monitor this and see what can be done. So.
Okay, so maybe Mr. Clerk, maybe if you can help us and maybe update us in the next maybe 3 months from now, and let us know what the status is. We would really appreciate that. And I'll keep in contact with you.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you.
Okay. Can I have a motion to close file on communication 182? Oh, you did already. Okay, just got to vote. So all in favor of closing file on communication 182? And we do a voice vote, or say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Say no if you don't like it? No no's? Okay, thank you very much. All in favor here. Okay, so moving on to communication 183. Mr. Clerk, can you read that?
Communication 183, report of council members' attendance at informational meetings with the Hawaii Congressional Delegation from Councilmember Dennis Fresh Onishi, dated February 27, 2015.
So can I have a motion to close file on communication 183?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Paleka, seconded by Councilmember Onishi. Councilmember Onishi, you have the floor.
Yeah, this is part of our, requirement that we need to have a report back to the public. Molly, can you please come up? If you can help me explain on what the procedure is.
Good morning, Corporation Council. Yes, under the Sunshine Law, Section 92-2.5E, that sets forth a specific permitted interaction that allows for 2 or more, but less than a quorum, to attend an informational meeting or presentation where matters relating to board business are discussed, so long as it's not exclusively organized for the members of the board, and of course, so long as no commitment to vote is sought or made. It also requires that one of those members present report back to the full committee or council at a subsequent meeting. So essentially, that's what you're doing here.
Thank you. And then also, just to let the public know that OIP did come up with, I guess, their opinion, and we checked with you to make sure that not more than 4 members would attend each congressional meeting.
Yes, that's correct. We did consult with OIP, and your attendance at these meetings and the procedure for reporting back is consistent with what they advised.
Thank you. Okay. And so on the report, so there were 4 of us that attended. Do I name who attended?
Just state the board members who were present and essentially the subject matter of what was discussed.
Okay. Okay. So attending the congressional meetings with Senate, Congressman Brian Schatz, Congresswoman Mizi Hirono, House U.S. Rep Mark Takai, and also U.S. Rep Tulsi Gabbard. We had Councilmember Iligan, Councilmember Paleka, and then Councilmember Kanua and myself. And in the discussion, we had discussed about how important that having customs approve the exemption of having our international flights coming in to Kona Airport. And basically, it was to not just helping Kona itself or the Big Island, but also statewide, because right now what's happening, or right now, Honolulu International Airport is the only port that can accept international flights that can go through customs. So if there's a situation where, there might be a fire or some kind of disaster at the airport, these flights that are coming in, they would be able to land at the airport, but the passengers wouldn't be able to get off because they would need to go through customs. So by having this secondary port, that would be, I guess, helping out the whole state. And also being the center of the ocean, of the Pacific Ocean, for them to go and fly someplace else, that might be impossible because of the fuel, right? Because then they might not have enough fuel to fly back or to go fly to someplace on the West Coast or so forth. So that was part of the discussion. And then we also mentioned about having the Hawaiian Airlines and Haneda. So having Haneda to Kona, which would be, I guess that part would be an economic drive for the Big Island and for also like on Kona. But basically the scope was to have the secondary port and then also how it would affect the whole state. Also, Mr. Iligan had mentioned to the congressional leaders, thanking them for their support during our disaster times and about the albizia trees. And so they were very pleased with that. Would Mr. Iligan be able to add on to that? You want to add on? If you want.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to clarify, they were very eager to help, and I just wanted to show appreciation of all their support. And I'm glad that the federal delegation is helping us, and I wish them best of luck up there in Washington.
Okay. And so basically that was our report, because with HSAC 2, we were only allowed one topic to talk to our congressional leaders because of time-wise. So that would be the report.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Yes, Councilmember Kanua.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nothing on the subject matter, but just wanted to thank Mr. Onishi for organizing and with HSAC and the U.S. senators and representatives. It was a really good meeting that we had. So just a big mahalo.
Yes, Ms. Poindexter.
And I just wanted to ditto what Drew said, because I did write that down to speak and say thank you to Fresh and your office staff too for organizing and assisting in this.
Can I ask? I want to ask you a question. So, or others, were there any other meetings besides those meetings with council members attending? Meeting with others in the congressional delegation? Others? Okay, that was the only schedule. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, shall we? Yeah, vote to close file. Do I have all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed? So unanimous and no opposition. Okay. And Councilmember Onishi, the chair, will resume the chairmanship of this meeting.
Ms. Willie. Okay, let the record show that I am chairing the committee again. Okay, order resolutions, Mr. Clerk, resolution 105-15.
Resolution 105-15 nominates enterprise zones for consideration and designation by the governor of the state of Hawaii. Requests that the governor designate the following areas as enterprise zones according to the attached exhibits. 1. Hamakua, Exhibit E, on the date of the governor's designation. Hilo Puna, Exhibit F, on the date of the governor's designation. 3. Kona, Exhibit G, on the date of the governor's designation, provided that at midnight of the day before the governor's designation, the South Kona designated district shall be terminated. And 4. Ka'u, Exhibit H, on May 2, 2015. Enterprise zones provide tax incentives to foster economic development and generate employment. Introduced by Mr. Onishi.
We have a motion to approve resolution 105-15. Motion by Mr. Iligan, second by Mr. Kanuha. Mr. Mende, are you in the audience? And then also you can bring up Mr. Tom and Mr. Ritchie. So members, just to let you know, Jane Harike couldn't be here today, and so Mr. Mende will be explaining what is this all about. Okay. So you guys can, Mr. Mende, you can introduce yourself, and then you can kind of give a brief summary of why we want to have this again.
Okay. Thanks, Chair Onishi. My name is Don Mende. I'm the Deputy Director for the Department of Research and Development. And then we're bringing forth today the resolution for the enterprise zones. I have Mark Ritchie, he's the branch chief, and Wayne Tom with me today, manager. They testified earlier. And one of the reasons why we're coming forth with this resolution is one of our primary goals is to, promote economic development. And although there are some tax credits that are involved in this, it's a scale going from 80%, and over time it goes down. But Wayne and Mark can explain that. And then like they mentioned, it doesn't supersede any of the other requirements that businesses need to do business here in Hawaii, like permitting and such. But it's some of the current zones that we have in place either have expired or expiring soon. And one in particular, the Kona one, that's why we're dissolving it and actually expanding it to incorporate more area, just so that if any businesses that qualify, which is growers, producers, and wholesalers, so retailers don't qualify for this enterprise zone exemption, which I think was mentioned earlier. But if you have any questions.
Okay, do we want, let's give Mr. Tom and Mr. Ritchie maybe about 5 minutes each for them to, I guess, explain on the state side the process and like how important this is.
Just go through it. Okay. Well, Let me tell you a little bit about the program. Number one, as Mark said, this is a state and county partnership, and the counties nominate the up to 6 zones. How they qualify the zones is by the latest census information. And the 2010 census information, what we're looking at is the residents of each census tract that's qualified, the median income of the residents family is 25% below the median income of the county. It is also dependent upon the employment or unemployment rate in that county, and it's supposed to fall below the unemployment rate for the United States. So what we're looking at after the 2010 census is many of the neighbor islands, the census tract, the residents of the census tract, their income levels fell, actually, and more areas became qualified for the enterprise zone program. And what that does for the residents is to encourage businesses to come into those zones. It helps them save some money so that they create more jobs. And, it's not any kind of company. We're talking about mainly companies that create pretty good paying jobs. Research, medical research kind of businesses. You're looking at wholesale businesses. And at the same time, it encourages agriculture. The legislature found that agriculture in neighbor islands is a qualified business, and agricultural processing is a qualified business. So the inclusion of value-added kinds of businesses in rural areas that need jobs is one of the primary missions, if you want to say that, of the Enterprise Zone program. The kinds of businesses that are qualified include not only agricultural production and processing, but manufacturing. You're looking at biotech research, development, and production, aviation and maritime repair and maintenance, telecommunications, switching and delivery systems, information technology design and production. Again, like I said, medical research, clinical trials, telemedicine, for-profit training programs in international business are qualified. And businesses training in business management or environmental remediation, repair or maintenance of assistive technology equipment. That's things like wheelchairs and hospital beds and equipment that includes respirators and oxygen producing machines. And certain types of call centers are qualified. Call centers, right now, we have maybe about a half a dozen call centers. And call centers do different things. I mean, we have call centers from attorneys' offices that chase money for different businesses. We have call centers for HMSA that help call senior citizens and people who need reminding to take their medications, to come in for doctor's appointments, things like that. These call centers also qualified. And we're looking at wind energy. Wind energy is a qualified renewable energy right now. Some of the businesses on the Big Island that have entered the program and actually have gone through their 7 or 10 years is like Hamakua Mushroom, Kona Pacific Farmers. These businesses have all come through the program already, and the legislature in 2008 and 2009 recognized that agriculture has different, ups and downs. And they added that the agriculture businesses can opt for an additional 3 years added to their initial 7-year enrollment period. And that would qualify agricultural producers and production people for 10 years of help. And what that includes is like 100% GET exemption during those years, assuming that they either meet the hiring requirement or revenue increases. Agriculture, by the way, is the only qualified business that allows for, instead of hiring, because the legislature recognized that small farms and agriculture businesses usually are just families. And how they help them is that instead of meeting the hiring requirement, because it's usually family, the business only need to increase their revenue, gross revenue, 2% each year, which is relatively, doable. So to get that GET exemption and income tax credits, 80% of what you owe the state in the first 12 months, going down 10% each successive 12 months. So it ends in the 7th year at 20%. And if you're an agriculture company adding 3 years, it holds at 20%. So, these things are all geared to help the businesses lower their costs of doing business. And actually, the good thing about it is it costs nothing to join this program, 0. The business just gets these state benefits and county benefits for reporting each year. What we're looking at, they have to report each year. And if they don't make it, they're not kicked out of the program. It just continues on until their end date. In other words, you don't make it 1 year, you look at the next year, you keep going. So these things are all helpful to small business, and it encourages then the other businesses like wholesaling or manufacturing, research, to hire more people. I know it helped one company on Oahu, a roofing supply house, that actually saved enough money to buy a $250,000 machine. It generated a new product made from its packaging waste materials. The styrofoam that these roofing materials came in, compacted these things, and actually created 3 full-time new jobs and added a new product to the company line. These kinds of things can happen on neighbor islands and is happening on neighbor islands. So we encourage all the businesses to join this program because it costs nothing to join.
Okay. How about just a couple of things to what Wayne has said? First of all, the Enterprise Zone program, what it really is it's an economic development tool for the counties to be able to use that in their economic development efforts. We've gone over, the type of companies that qualify and things, but it's really up to the county to decide how they want to use this economic development tool. For instance, I think on Hawaii Island, well over half the companies are agricultural companies or involved in food processing or agriculture. And this, agriculture is a big industry on the Big Island here. So we've been able to use that program. The county's been able to use that program to support agricultural companies, particularly given the ups and downs of agriculture and some of the natural disasters and things like that the Big Island has faced recently. I think maybe just to clarify, when people talk about sort of the tax credit, and we can even more detail, the tax credit, starts at 80%, and it's of your your final tax that you owe. So, and you can't carry that forward. So and then it goes down to 70%, 60% to 20% in year 7. Every year, the companies report to us and let us know either they've met the job total in exchange, and then we certify them, and then they can take the tax credit. Or if they're an agricultural company, it would be either the job total requirement, or if they've increased their revenue by 2%, and that's a special thing just for agricultural companies. So I think the Big Island actually benefits a lot from that. And yeah, I think we're looking to work with our county coordinators. We just had a county coordinator meeting in Honolulu a couple months ago, and we think that this program can be used to the benefit of the counties depending on what their economic development goals are, and it's a useful economic development tool. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's have Ms. Willie, and then we'll go to Ms. Poindexter.
Okay. Are they still sitting there at the desk? Yeah. Okay, I have a big problem with this, in particular with the expansion into the Mauka areas, including into the conservation areas, including as circling around Mauna Kea. I think it's, just, and these are steep slopes, so you start putting all of these in developments or agriculture up there. You're basically, there's a whole environmental issue, and there's environmental risk that's involved. You talk about a partnership, but I see little accountability to the county. Maybe it should be that the council reviews any of the expansions or the different businesses. I would like to, continue where we are, and it's supposed to be in neighborhood revitalizations. So putting these developments in areas that are far removed is not neighborhood revitalization. I don't like the amendment that removed the job requirement. That was the whole push for this, and making it so that you just, a company has to do 2% additional production. I also see discussion here, even, for example, one of the prohibitions or restrictions on agriculture is that you can't take general excise taxes on the gross proceeds of agricultural retail sales unless you're involved in the production of genetically engineered agricultural products. Then they get the full exemption. I wonder how much money we're losing for this. We want to develop our businesses, but we also want to be accountable both culturally and environmentally. And perhaps we should just focus more on the current areas, which are in the areas of population and not expanding. I look at this map, and it's just, basically it goes up to all of the forest reserves and takes in all of the land. So in a way, for me, this is very anti-home rule. There's no county oversight built in, and it's in a way, it's sort of another public lands development corporation. Opening up these, what I consider to be very either watershed areas or areas that are buffers to the watershed. So I don't, I really don't think we ought to expand it. I'm not, I would like to see more accountability on where it is working. If these areas that were in this district, why are they still in there? We're 20 years later. What's been done? How good is this program? How much does it cost? I find this resolution that was written is really so glib, and the 20-year period's up, so we need to renew it. And here we are expanding it. There's no, anyway, I'm disturbed by this, and I'll yield and speak after I hear the others.
Poindexter, then after that, Mr. Iligan.
Okay. Mr. Wayne Tom, is he still there? Okay. Okay, I see you up there. Hi, Wayne. Thank you for
Valerie.
being here. It's been many, many years. I thought I recognized you when you first spoke, but you know that I support enterprise zones and all that you have been doing all these years. My concern is of YPO and what the people and the community there are now struggling with, and that is the road into the valley and the amount of traffic already going into the valley. And I think their concern also was that Bishop Museum owns most of that property, and there was talk of them selling. So I have a meeting with them scheduled on Sunday, but I was wondering if anyone from R&D or even at the state level, did they meet with the YPO Taro Farmers Association already, or the Ha'ola OYPO group that is there, and listen to the concerns in that area? Because like I said, a lot of them I know want to do business, and this would help them. But the unintended consequences is what I'm concerned about. So R&D, Don Mendy, did you guys meet with anyone of those associations?
Councilmember Poindexter. No, actually we didn't. But I just wanted to clarify that this wouldn't supersede anything else that anyone else would have to go through to start a business. They would still have to go through the right permitting hurdles and whatnot. This would just give them an economic boost. Well, actually, if they're profitable, so they have more money at the end of the day. It also, as far as our county is concerned, it also helps benefit people, or say, for instance, a farm that was maybe got damaged in a storm, because it actually affects new construction. There is a 3-year type of waiver for the property value for their taxes, so to try to help them recoup some of that cost.
Okay.
Well.
And I understand all what it will do, but see, the road into the valley is a state road that the county maintains. The river, DLNR is involved and all of that. So I understand what it could do for businesses, but the infrastructure itself right now is a major, major problem. That's why this group, Ha'ola OYPO, formed. And the YPO Taro Farmers Association is also sitting with that group, is a concern for what is happening to YPO. Because in one day, when I look at the stats, had 91 vehicles going into the valley, 15, I don't know if there were, the hikers were 60 hikers. And well, it was a total of 106 vehicles, because some were rentals and some were not. But that's like sometimes on a daily basis. So right now they're crossing, trespassing. It's a mess there right now that they're trying to sort out. And I understand the enterprise zone and Wayne, Tom, your efforts, and I love that it will give people that opportunity. But I'm concerned about the current infrastructure, and I still need to meet with the people in YPO, which, like I said, I have a meeting scheduled with them on the 22nd on this Sunday, asking to put this on the agenda as well. So my concern is the unintended consequences. So I don't know if you want to respond to that, Wayne, or?
Can I respond to that? Valerie, first, it's the state program doesn't say, okay, we open an enterprise zone here. Okay, all the businesses go over there. It says basically where do the businesses want to go? At this point, if you look at the various maps, the majority of the Big Island is eligible to be an enterprise zone. In fact, almost the whole island. I think that there are just a few census tracts, maybe a handful of census tracts that don't qualify. That means the residents make the median income or make more than the median income, or the unemployment rate is not that low. What the program does is wherever the businesses are, that's where you can encourage business development. It's most of the the outlying areas from Hilo or in Kona are rural and agriculture related. The program has nothing to do with infrastructure. It's a county or state, another department kind of issue. The enterprise zone strictly deals with certain kinds of qualified businesses getting benefits so that that encourages expansion of their business, and then as a result, more hiring, more job creation.
Right. And I understand that piece. But what I'm saying, it does have an impact on that community. So, I feel comfortable where the enterprise zones are now. I would feel more comfortable if we choose to expand in different areas, that the areas that we're choosing to expand and have an impact on, that we do have meetings with those organizations and those community members or businesses that are there in those areas, because I'm afraid of what's happening with Waipio. And so are the people. I mean, I'm speaking because I've been attending those meetings, and they're concerned because it's the second most visited spot on the Big Island next to the volcano. And we are not prepared for this. The roads were built for donkeys. They weren't built for vehicles. And at this point, and what's going on in the valley itself, where the private properties, worst case scenario, Bishop Museum sells to a developer. Then they come to do business. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that we need to bring out to those community groups in Waipio and the overall public in Hawaii County, because that's our Waipio. And talk about that, if this is a good thing to move forward and for me to support. So that's where my concern is, because we didn't have a chance to be talking to the people that will be impacted by this. So I'm going to yield at this time. Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Iligan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was listening to the testimonies, concerns, and also some of the council members' concerns. And my understanding of the enterprise zone, like you mentioned, it's the partnership between the state and the county. And from my understanding, what the partnership is that the county decides the zoning of where the enterprise zones are going to be located, hence what we're trying to discuss now. And then the state would help out with the GET. Can I get a yes or no or nod?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so also at the same time, this enterprise zone is not an additional requirement for any businesses out there that they must meet this requirement in the enterprise zone. They can actually not have to apply for this enterprise zone. However, if they do additional paperwork and they meet the requirement, they can actually save some money because they get to keep some of their GE tax, correct?
That's correct.
And I want to find a win-win solution here, because I kind of understand what the council members are saying with unintended consequences. And how I look at it is the lava zones. They were created for research purposes, but then the insurance company ended up using them as a viable map for insurance purposes. So I feel like the concerns of the council members are, they don't know where these zones are gonna be used for. And I think a simple GIS on looking for conservation areas and overlaying that on the current zone and then minusing that for the current proposed zone, we can eliminate all the conservation areas. And someone also mentioned we should focus on where the businesses are at. And we all know that the businesses are not in the conservation areas. So let's just remove those proposed areas where the businesses are not at. And at the same time, we can even look at the general plan and find out where the vision is for the island and maybe propose the commercial areas relating to the general plan. That way, instead of, I understand that as of right now, this current proposed zoning won't impact anything. I feel like it's okay. But at the same time, I feel like we can do better. There's always room for improvement, and we can definitely revise this proposed zones to make it more accurate, to make it for the public so they can understand that they don't confuse that why is this area an enterprise zone area when it's conservation. So that confusion is not there. I feel like it's simpler for everybody if we do that. And that's a very easy fix. I can see a couple points on the computer, GIS overlay, and then subtract that area that's currently proposed that's on conservation, and that's taken care of. And I feel that we can resolve some of the concerns that the testifiers had and also the council members had. So maybe if we could take a step back, because even if we pass this, if we try to expedite this, it's not going to really help anyone. We would like to make it, actually do it right the first time. And I'm a proponent to help out more businesses. And I feel like this is the right step and the right partnership that we need to create with the state and the county. And I wanted to ask just one last question, and that is there a requirement on the number of employees that's needed, like a minimum for businesses to apply for the enterprise zone?
Yes, you have to have a minimum of one employee to start out.
So if you have one employee, that covers a lot of small businesses who wants to be creative and innovative and try different type of business just other than retail. And of course, we want to promote agriculture. I would like to see more of that. So this is not just for big businesses. I feel like this is also for the very, very small business. And I just want to propose to the chair if we could maybe take a step back and look at the current proposed and maybe, or possibly take out the conservation areas. Thank you.
Ms. David?
Yes, thank you, Chair Onishi. I do have some comments regarding what Councilmember Poindexter has said. I just wanted to find out whether the enterprise zones that are up for expiration, if you could use that word, do we have to expand the zones, or can we maintain the zones that we have on the ones that are that will be expiring until? I'm trying to piggyback on what Councilmember Iligan is saying, because there is concern that I'm looking at the map that the proposed enterprise zones expansion goes well beyond the areas that the towns are, the current businesses are located, and it goes far into the conservation areas. And I know we have processes that can address that should it happen. But my question is, does it need to be expanded, and or can the zones be maintained or like reestablished so that they don't expire, and implement something along the lines that Councilmember Iligan is talking, where we put in more thought so that we address unintended consequences like Councilmember Poindexter is talking about, and as well as the concerns expressed by the testifiers.
I can answer that. Yes, it's up to the county to tell the state what zones they would like. Some of the zones have expired, but it's up to the county to tell the state. And our Office of Planning, our our GIS services group, they'd be happy to work with you on that.
Okay, and just one more question, please. The tax credit, is that only general excise tax, or does it also apply to any other taxes like employment taxes that you give these businesses a break? Because I do support government supporting businesses, especially small businesses in this community. So what other tax besides the general excise tax that they get a break on?
Right. There's three taxes, and these are all state taxes. And then the county can do what they would like if they want to add extra incentives. But the three state taxes are a tax credit, which is on the amount of tax that you would owe, after you do your tax returns, and that starts at 80%, and then over a 7-year period goes down to 20%. So 10% comes off each year. The second one is unemployment insurance tax, the state unemployment insurance tax. That works the same way, that it starts at 80%. You get a credit for that for what you've paid, and that goes down to 20% over 7 years. And then the third thing is the GET waiver, which is companies do not, who are in the enterprise zone program and have met the requirements on a year-to-year basis, do not have to pay the state GET. And in addition to that, it's involved in GET. If you're going to be doing refurbishing your facilities, doing some construction on your facilities for the first couple of years, your contractor does not have to charge you the GET if you're doing that in an enterprise zone.
Thank you very much. I yield.
Okay, Mr. Paleka, and then after Mr. Chung.
Me? Oh, terrific. Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate, I think we're all pretty much in favor of enterprise zones and continuing that program. I guess the problem becomes where we continue, or if we're, the real problem, I guess, is with the expanded areas, if any. But I'd like to ask the gentleman, any of the three gentlemen, to elaborate more on the advantages that new businesses or businesses already in existence, what kind of benefits and advantage they have in terms of capital improvement, because I think that's a real important part, is for our businesses to really thrive and take advantage of this program. It's the capital improvement is where a lot of businesses can really take advantage. If you could please elaborate.
Okay, let me explain the difference between new and existing companies. A new company is a company that entered the zone, enrolled in the program after the zone was created. An existing company is a company that was in the zone prior to the zone being created. There is a higher requirement for hiring for existing companies. An existing company needs to increase its initial hiring by 10% in the first year, maintain that number for 3 years. In year 4, it needs to increase its hiring by 15% each year to year 7. So in 4, 5, 6, and 7, 15% increase each year. New companies need only increase their hiring by 10% the first year and then maintain that number through year 7. If you do that, then you get your certification each year, and that would allow for you to claim the GET exemption and the 2 income tax credits, the non-refundable income tax credits.
Councilman Paleka, as far as the county is concerned, there is I guess you could say, kind of a waiver for new construction in the new construction and renovation value once they apply and they qualify for an enterprise zone for, I believe it's 3 years. That on the value of the new construction that they get a waiver for that on their property taxes.
Thank you, because that can be a quite a sum of money if they're investing, say, $500,000 million in that capital improvement, that tax incentive. But thank you for explaining the new business, and also that businesses are encouraged to hire more, or required to, which is good for employment for our island, to remain in the program and take advantage of those incentives. Mahalo.
Mr. Chung?
No, I'm in support of the enterprise zones. I'm going to be supporting this resolution at some point. Some of the earlier speakers, particularly in Ohua, pointed out that historical underpinnings of types of enterprise zones started with urban renewal, blighted areas. However, over the years, these enterprise zones, the concepts of this have morphed, and particularly in Hawaii, I think we have different applications that are really unique to our state. And I disagree respectfully with Ms. Willie. I think that her comparison with the Public Lands Development Corporation is misplaced, because that legislation intended to trump permitting and different zoning regulations. This one does not. We still have oversight over all of these things. And you also said that the efficacy over the 20-year period, it has not been shown. I look at it a little bit differently. The 20-year period has demonstrated that there's really been no harm done. So I really do support all of this, but I'm really listening to what particularly Ms. David and Ms. Poindexter stated. They're worried about the expansion of this. And I think what we should do is, we don't have our point person from the R&D department here, Jane Horike. Now, she was supposed to be meeting with everyone individually. That was my understanding. She might have, I don't know. And I think she would be the best person to explain why they're expanding these zones. And that would probably give a better comfort level to everyone here. So my recommendation would be to just postpone it, because there seems to be support for this. Okay, well, maybe the council members can ask her for an explanation as to the expansion in their particular areas.
Good morning. I asked to say it because I have a very bad cold, and I hope you can hear me. Okay, when I took into consideration the expansion, I do have a map here that that shows that much of the area, all of the area that I have included in the enterprise zone tracts are easy eligible tracts with no reservation or conservation. And the only other areas that I included are conservation districts with no reservations. Many times in reservation areas, I get businesses that do agriculture, and many times I have to exclude them. And I took into consideration, because we're in very great support of agriculture, I took into consideration to include those areas. I did not include areas that are all reserves, that are purely conservation. So if I don't know if I can share with you this map. I did share it with all the council people, that I have this map that I use to consider the expansion of the areas with more regard to support of agriculture, because the companies that come to me and I have to say, I'm sorry, you're not in an enterprise zone, are many times the agricultural companies that are in the higher areas, as you say, or in the conservation areas. Businesses that have structures and are more substantial are in more the populated areas and in the town areas. But I.
Jane.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
you've heard some of the discussions about why was the expansions, and then, like, for example, did you go out to the communities to talk to them?
No, I didn't go out to the communities to talk to them. I did do it by looking at the map and considering it, considering why I was doing it and why I was supporting it.
Okay, so hearing discussion from the councilmen, their concerns, would you be willing to go out and meet with the communities that you're expanding, and then we can postpone this until you get those meetings and, get the dialogue?
Yes, I could.
Okay. Ms. Willie first.
I again want to say that I'm not opposed to continuing the current enterprise zones, and that my questions have to do with expanding it into the higher elevations. And I think we're just trying to find a balance here. It's not, we're all supporting economic development, we're all supporting jobs. I didn't care for that amendment that made it so you just make 2% more a year. Would allow you to continue. I think that the whole push for this was for jobs, and to allow exceptions I would not have, I don't support. But again, I continue to support what we have and focusing on those areas, which is where the small businesses are, not where, it's really you're going into areas of large tracts, more likely multinationals coming in here and doing multinational agriculture. I'm not saying that across the board, but I was concerned, as Ms. Poindexter, Waipio, then you have the whole area circling around Mauna Kea, and allowing that to be basically allowing a development through there, which I'm not totally opposed to, but I just think we're sort of opening it up and just allowing it free fall. I don't see, I think perhaps we should be undertaking more effort to understand what's going on in these districts and what's going on and how it is helping. But I see these where you open big, large tracts open for development, you tend to get big, large developments coming in and being able to lease those parcels and take over. Most of that is public land, and public land is specified, has a different category of relationship to the government. We're supposed to be a fiduciary duty to the beneficiaries. And who are the beneficiaries? Native Hawaiians and the general public. So I just want to keep that in mind. And again, I think we're just looking for some balance here, and it's not opposing economic development. It's just ensuring the environmental issues. And we all love agriculture, but agriculture is a big environmental risk and a problem. And how do we do that where we're doing it in the upper elevations, steep, much of this is steep elevations, and what are the unintended consequences, and just addressing those balances. Thank you. I agree with Councilmember Chung, or whoever suggested let's postpone this and get some more information on these individual areas and what communities involved.
Hey, Ms. Poindexter.
Yeah, I was going to ask, hopefully maybe, I know, Jane, you're sick, so I wouldn't want you to come to a meeting and infect us all. But I don't know if, Wayne, you would be available on Sunday. We have a big YPO meeting, and on the agenda is their trespassing issues and the quality of life in YPO for the farmers and the residents. So I've asked to be on their agenda regarding enterprise zones. So would someone be available to come and give a brief presentation on the enterprise zone and listen to some of their concerns, so you can take that information back to the governor as well? Wayne, you don't like stay.
To do the presentation, no problem.
Because they have a meeting, it's scheduled for 1 o'clock. They're meeting on Sunday, so would you be available? And if you're not, if you want to give me things that I can give to them, but I would love to have you there.
That's fine. Just let me know when.
Awesome. I get to see you in person then. Thank you. Thank you. I'll touch base with you after the meeting. Thank you.
Ms. Yoff?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question, after hearing the discussion here today, would be regarding the expiration of the current enterprise zones. Are we in any time-sensitive situation to renew the existing enterprise zones?
It's just that no other companies cannot join the program where the zones have expired.
Oh, and so renewing the existing zones would allow for new people to apply into the program?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we already had 1 or 2 calls of companies that wanted to join the enterprise zone program, but they were in zones that had been expired already.
Thank you. I understand.
Ms. David?
Yes, thank you. And I just wanted to thank Jane for meeting with me. And now that we've had this brought before the council, I really want to sit down and discuss with her the issues that we've been talking about, and just thank her for the work that she's done thus far. And I really I would like to meet with you, Jane, again the next time I'm in Hilo, and in that, with that regard, I do support a postponement of this. I yield.
Mr. Iligan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have some questions, but first I wanted to mention that the enterprise zone is in our general plan. It's it actually goes through some pretty much what the members describe about what it's all about, and then it has some goals, like 2.2A says provide residents with opportunities to improve their quality of life through economic development that enhance the county's natural and social environments. It has policies. 2.3A assist in the expansion of the agriculture industry through the protection of important agricultural lands, development of marketing plans and programs, capital improvements, and continued cooperation with appropriate state and federal agencies. It even breaks it down to each district. And I'm going to Puna for 2.4.1.2 course of action A. Assist the further development of the agriculture industry by providing support services to commodity groups and other organizations such as farmers' cooperatives, protecting important agriculture lands, and requesting and providing necessary capital improvements. And it goes to South Hilo and so on, and has a list of course of action. So as Councilmember Chung mentioned, it's been going on for many years. And I wanted to ask, is the county's only authority to be able to designate where the zones are at? Is the county able to have any voice on choosing what enterprise we would like to support in these zones?
Let me say, anybody can lobby with the legislature to add different kinds of businesses into the statute. There is no, solid, written in stone kind of legislation. We are only following at this point what the statute says. The statute initially selected these types of qualified businesses looking at good-paying jobs. It added things like wind energy because the wind people lobbied well. You notice there's no solar in there. There's no hydro electricity. There's no thermal. You know, we need those kind of industries. Maybe could get into the enterprise zone if it went to the legislative process and added that kind of industry to the statute.
Yeah. And then can I add to that?
Yes, go ahead.
Again, you have your own county zoning and things. So if something's zoned ag, you know, you can't use the enterprise zone program to put some big manufacturing facility. I mean, this doesn't preempt. This just is an extra economic development tool to give some tax incentives to kind of lower the cost of doing business. But it's really up to the county through its own zoning laws and things and your own economic development plan to sort of use this as you would want to. Again, it doesn't preempt any of the zoning things you already have.
I agree with that. You mentioned that quite a lot. It doesn't supersede any of the zoning requirements, and it really just gives opportunity to the businesses that's allowable in these enterprise zones. I wanted to ask Ms. Hurike if she has looked into the general plan and really associate what's on the general plan into what's the proposed zoning. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Your mic might not be on.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yes, my mic wasn't on. Yes, I did, in the sense that, in the sense of economic development and in the sense of agriculture. And I guess I was in support of the economic development aspects and the agricultural aspects of economic development on our island here, because this is the kinds of companies that do come in and want to participate in the enterprise zone program.
Thank you. And I mentioned earlier about conservation areas, and you said that you removed the conservation areas with reserve, but you said there's farmers in conservation areas with no reserve. Could you explain that a little bit more?
Okay, many of them are usually they have ranches in the conservation areas with no reserves, meaning that they could farm in these areas. They're in my map. They're signified by like green areas, and there's indicated that they're conservation districts with no reserves, meaning meaning that it could be utilized for, and it's indicated that it is in the higher lands. So many times it is pastures that are there, that I've had several companies that came in and wanted to participate in the program, but they were in these areas.
So I made that statement earlier, and I have to withdraw that statement after you mentioning that. And after reading the general plan, it highly focuses on agriculture, and that includes farmers and ranchers.
Yes.
So I agree with the proposed amendments, and thinking about it now, I would actually like to just see this go through. And I think the outreach really is just letting people know that this program exists. Because
yes.
I'm thinking if we even remove any of the enterprise zone, who do we might potentially bump out that they were already allowed to enter into this program if this was proposed in. And if they're a new business that we don't really want to see in that area. There's the zoning laws for that. So honestly, the outreach should be more of a separate thing. I feel like what we're doing today should be just passing the enterprise zone and have these proposed zones, because I didn't know that farmers and ranchers are also in those conservation and areas. So my stand is different now, and I want to urge the council members to not postpone this and carry on with approval to council, since we have 1 and 2 readings to even go to. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Willie.
Well, I'd like to move to postpone so we can get more information on the expanding areas.
Second.
The community. And to the call of the chair.
Okay, second by Ms. Poindexter. Discussion on postponement. Mr. Iligan.
I will not be supporting the postponement.
Okay. Any other? Ms. Poindexter.
Yeah, I'll be supporting the postponement because this will give a chance for DBED to come and speak with the people who's they're trying to include as an expansion on that zoning. So I appreciate that. So I am definitely supporting the postponement.
Quick comment. I also, look up at Ulai, the mountain, above Kona.
Postponement.
In support, and that's another area where I feel that really looking at why we need a postponement and see what's going on in that area. So I just think we ought to make informed decisions, and there's not enough here in terms of the areas of expansion for me to be satisfied. Thank you. So I thank you. I encourage the postponement.
Mr. Chung.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Like Mr. Iligan, I'm prepared to vote in favor of this today. But if it gives each of the council members more comfort level and more of an opportunity to discuss this with their constituents, and consequently having more of a chance of gaining unanimity on this resolution, then I'm all for it. So I'll be voting in favor of the postponement.
Okay, very good. Any other discussion? Just one thing to clarify. Either R&D or DBED, you folks can answer this. This proposal needs to come from the county to the state, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so I think R&D, you folks need to go out and visit the communities and explain why you folks wanted to expand. Okay? That's a yes from?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, let's do a voice. All those in favor of postponing to the call of the chair, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. One opposed, Mr. Iligan. Okay. We have a motion to adjourn. Okay, motion by Mr. Canoa, second by Ms. Poindexter. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed? This meeting is adjourned.